Victor Findlay's back on the program. Victor, thanks again for making some time. I got to tell you, brother, that if I said I'm going to have Victor on April 10th, the last time we talked, and the Habs were going to probably be secure in the playoffs, I didn't see that coming. Like, what a ride it's been for you.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough to put it into words, to be honest with you, just with everything that's happened in this organization. And it's not just the wins, it's the way they're winning games, coming back with 8 seconds to play against the Florida Panthers to tie it, and then winning it in overtime a few weeks ago. Guys coming back from injury. Now Ivan Demidov is showing up. Lane Hutson seems to be the odds-on favorite right now for the Calder Trophy. It's hard to see that race changing in the last week and a half of the regular season as well. So there's just so many things right now that are going right for the Montreal Canadiens. And, I think it was Brooks Koepka, we are in Masters Week here, who had a quote I remember about when you're playing your best golf, you feel like you're never going to lose it. And then when you're at the bottom of your game, you feel like you're never going to get it back. Right now, Montreal are playing their best golf. They are playing their best hockey, and they feel like they're never going to lose it right now.
Where do you see Demidov fitting in here? I know that's kind of the hot button question. Is he going to be top 6, bottom 6? Coming from the KHL, playing against men, where do you see it?
I see him second line wing right away. Like, I think Montreal's biggest weakness right now, you're not touching the first line. You're not touching Slavkovsky, Caulfield, and Suzuki. You're not touching the third line either with Dvorak, Gallagher, and Josh Anderson, who I think have been fantastic. And I don't think the Habs are where they are right now without those guys. You're not putting Demidov on the fourth line either. As much as I love, the way that Yoel Army and Jake Evans have played the game this year, that's the penalty kill right there. And I don't think putting Demidov with those two guys is the best situation. The biggest weakness for the Habs right now is the second line. They need somebody to get Laine going 5-on-5. They need somebody to get him pucks. I think Newhook has done a very admirable job of filling in that second line center spot. I don't think that's going to be his spot down the road when this team looks to continue to contend for years and years and years. And really, ever since the Doc injury, right, Newhook has slid into that position. It's left a gap on that wing. And they've had a bit of a recurring, rotating cast of players here, Oliver Kapanen, Emil Heineman, and so forth. But I think that's the perfect spot right now for Demidov in that second line left wing. I think they're going to put him in there right away.
Now, Demidov, there's rumors, Victor, that he may play Monday night, I believe, against Chicago. Is there any truth to that?
Well, I don't have any information that's been given to me that suggests that's going to happen, but using what I know, I absolutely think it's going to happen. And if it doesn't happen next Monday, I think it'll happen in the last game of the season against Carolina, because the thing here, too, to keep in mind with Demidov is that he signed the entry-level deal. And usually at the start of the year, we see kids, come out of junior, whatever it is with, Shane Wright was a recent example, Brant Clark also in Los Angeles. They get their 8-9 games in, and then they send them back down to junior, because if you play more than 9 games in the first year of an entry-level deal as a teenager, that you burn the first year of that entry level. So if Demidov shows up here and he plays the last 2 games of the regular season, that gives him, because he's a teenager, another 7 games into the playoffs that he can play, where if he doesn't exceed that 9-game limit, Montreal will get a slide on that entry-level deal. And when you consider that this is a team that's looking to build and be competitive for years to come, you're going to have to start factoring in the salary cap at some point. It's not something we really talk about right now because they're still in a rebuild, but not far off of that being a serious consideration. So I think it's a perfect scenario. If Demidov comes here, plays the last 2 games of the regular season, then whatever, if it goes 7 games in the first round against Washington, which is the likely opponent right now, then you could play him all 7. Don't have to worry about that. But then if you get through to the second round, whatever, all bets are off at that point. You're going to play. If you're going to burn however many years you want to off that entry-level deal, he's going to play in the second round.
I love it.
You take a look at the Capitals, a big physical team, and it looks like 99% sure they're going to play the Capitals. Now, you'd have to think that they're going to be trying to hit Hudson as hard as they can, as much as they can, and go after him a bit. And then I'm just thinking off the top of my head, well, Arbor Jack, he can't crack the defensive core at the moment, especially with how well Gooley's playing. And it looks like he's been beaten out to be a defenseman in the top 6. So can you play Jack Guy as a seventh defenseman, not to fight, but just to play physical hockey? Or can you put him, is it possible even to put him on a wing on the fourth line just to give Montreal a little more size against such a gigantic Capitals team, and in case they're going to take liberties with Lane Hudson?
Yeah, you know what? It's really tough right now to find a way for Jack Guy into the lineup. Personally, I don't see him playing as a forward. He's never done that in junior nor since he's joined the Montreal Canadiens. And I think, Marty St. Louis likes to use that line with Evans and Armia. And recently it's been Pezzetta in that spot, who's actually pretty tough in his own right too. But I think, Oliver Kapanen's played quite well right now too. And Davidov comes in. I don't think they want to just take Kapanen out of the lineup either. I think he would be most likely to slide into that fourth line wing spot. But, as you mentioned on defense, you're not touching Goulet. Carrier's a given. Hudson, Matheson are in every night. David Savard probably stays in too because he's a key person on the penalty kill. So the one guy that might be kind of in the red zone there is Jaden Struble. But, he's played really well since the Four Nations face-off break. There's a lot of things I like about his game too. So there's nothing that anybody right now in the top six defensemen for Montreal has done to play themselves out of the lineup. So I think that'll be a card that Marty has in his back pocket or up his sleeve if he feels like at some point he does need to get Jack Guy in to correct the course a little bit, because absolutely Washington are going to run around there with guys like Tom Wilson and they're going to play this team tough. But at the same time, to just go back to your point on Hudson, for sure he's going to be a target. But Lane Hudson has managed to go the entire year. And of all the things he's done that have been so impressive in his rookie year, maybe the most impressive for me is he's never been caught once. He's never been lit up. He's never been blown up by anybody. The biggest hit he took since he showed up in Montreal was game one of the preseason. It was the rookie tournament game. Toronto-Montreal, and Rhett Parsons, former defenseman for the Medicine Hat Tigers, got him in the far side corner of the offensive zone. He's never been rocked like he has since that rookie tournament game. He is a very, very shifty, elusive type guy. Not easy to catch Lane Hudson.
Hey, you guys are Hab guys. Like, Don dialed in here, but as a passive Habs guy, I'm sitting there going, the four nations and what happened there didn't really affect them that much. How many guys did they have go to the Four Nations? Like, they kind of came through that unscathed.
Well, yeah, he had Sam Montembeault go, but obviously he never played a game for Canada, so he just kind of took it all in and took the experience in as the third string goalie. But then you had Armia and Patrick Laine both go for Finland. And that was it. Obviously no representation on Sweden or USA.
The interesting thing is the response of Suzuki after not being on the Canadian team. I mean, he's one of the best players in the NHL right now. Would you say right now, Victor, and you can chime in too, Barney, Suzuki and Hudson, they're leading this team. Are they both now certified NHL stars with what they've done in the last month?
I think for sure Nick Suzuki is. Absolutely. I think we haven't even seen really the final, close to the final product yet for Lane Hudson. I think he's still evolving and the way he's creating offense, becoming more of a shot threat now as well. So there's a lot of great things I like about Hudson. I'm not ready to call him a superstar quite yet, but there's no doubt in my mind he's going to get there. Mm-hmm. The way Suzuki's played in the last 2 months, yes, I will absolutely say that he has played like a star, because now it's everything. Like, it's what he's doing away from the puck. It's how he's shutting guys down. He's at least before last night, I think he had the third most points in the National Hockey League since the Four Nations face-off break. Like, he has been up there with Kucherov, been up there with Roope Hintz, who's been great out of the Four Nations break, like among the best right there. And now Montreal's at a point, we just had Florida back-to-back versus Florida on the road and at home. And in the home game, Montreal last change, Martin St. Louis is trying to get Suzuki and his line out there against Barkov and his line. And Montreal in the last year actually had a +5 or a +6 against Alex Barkov's line on Florida. So you're taking one of the best defensive shutdown, probably the best defensive shutdown two-way center in the league, and Barkov. And Marty's looking at his guys, Suzuki, Caulfield, and Slavkovsky, saying that's who we want out there on the ice. And they've had success against them.
Why this uptick? And you love to see it with players, especially when it's on your team, Don, for sure. But why this transformation or uptick or coming out party for Suzuki? Does it have something to do with St. Louis?
I think it's just a natural course of development for Nick Suzuki. You know, it's so hard to do what he's doing in this league at this level every night. And like I said, it's not just the offense. And I think that's the thing with Nick, is that he's always been a little things, detail-oriented type player, even though he was, I think a 3-time 40-goal scorer in the Ontario Hockey League. He's playing the same role now that he was then when he was with Owen Sound and the Guelph Storm. So I think for Nick, it's always been, good habits, defense first, and figure out the offense as it comes, and that's taken a little bit of time. But now the guys that he's playing with are also getting better. So I think it's both of those things kind of going in parallel. Like Slafkovsky continues to develop. I think, Caulfield has done a really great job this year of finding ways to get lost in coverage and be in better areas for Nick Suzuki and Lane Hudson as well to find him for offensive opportunities. So I think it's just a natural progression of the way Nick Suzuki has developed his game, but also the guys around him.
Don, I'm going to let you have the last question to Victor.
Thanks, Barney. It's very you're in charge. It's very nice of you. Well, one thing I'd say, Victor, you need to take a look at the Montreal Canadiens bench. I have never seen any other team in the NHL this season, particularly now, that are so emotional on the bench and so together on the bench. There's not another team that seems as dialed in as a unit as Montreal. Would you agree with that from the body language you see on the bench?
You know what? I actually haven't even really thought about that, to be honest with you. But you know what? You're probably right. Now I don't spend a whole lot of time watching the bench because as a play-by-play guy, I'm a puck follower. But I understand what you mean. Like just seeing the guys though around after the game, especially. I always do a post-game interview after the Habs win at home, and they've done a lot of that here since the Four Nations. And I think there's so many guys on this team, especially the veterans, that have really battled through adversity. Yoel Armia last year was sent down to Laval in the American Hockey League out of training camp, couldn't make the opening day roster, battled his way back to be a penalty killer with Montreal. Josh Anderson had a 27-game goalless drought last year, just couldn't seem to figure out what he was as a player, really struggled with it, and he was open about it too. He's come back this year. He's been an excellent third-line checker. He's found his offense again. Brendan Gallagher, I think a lot of people never thought he would have been a 20-goal guy ever again, given the way he's taken a beating over the years, an absolute beating, right? Had some serious injury, troubles, grinded through that. Look what he's become now. Christian Dvorak, another guy that was sidelined with a torn pectoral for like 60-some games last year. And those three guys as a line right now have all figured it out together. So I think there's so many of those older type veterans that have been around, and these younger guys have seen them battle through that adversity. And then they've done it as a team this year, given the way they've started, and that's brought them so close together. And Marty, to his credit as well, Martin St. Louis has always preached that here from day one. I don't want you guys to play for me. I want you guys to play for you. Do it for one another. And they've absolutely bought into that message. So I totally agree with you, even though I'm not focused on the bench during the game. I could just see it, though, with the way that these guys carry themselves and how they interact with others. This is definitely a group of guys that are playing for one another out there every night.
Victor, you got me excited. You guys both got me excited for the Habs now. Again, always appreciate it. Thanks for jumping on today. Enjoy the off day, and maybe we catch up second round of the playoffs, let's say.
I wouldn't put anything past this team at the moment, so I'd be more than happy to do it.
Right on.